Let me paint you a picture. Bitcoin, born just over a decade ago, was once worth just a few cents. Today, here we are in 2024, looking at Bitcoin not just as a digital currency, but as a revolutionary financial asset with a market capitalization now exceeding $2 trillion and a price hovering over $100,000. It has cemented itself as one of the largest financial assets in the world. The stories of Bitcoin is far from over. In fact, I argue we're still in the early chapters. And if you're here stacking sats, let me tell you, you're on the right path. So how did we get here? And what does the futures look like for Bitcoin? Let me break it down in a way that is simple, hopeful, and worth your time. First, we have to talk about why Bitcoin has done so well this year. It's been a long road, hasn't it? Over the past few years, many critics have said Bitcoin was dead. They called it a bubble. But here we are. Bitcoin is not only alive, but thriving. That's because Bitcoin isn't just a currency. It's a store of value. It's decentralized, it's scarce, and it's something no one can control. No government, no company. Bitcoin is for everyone. Now, why is this moment special? Bitcoin is not just rising because of hype. It's rising because the demand is real. We're seeing institutional investors like BlackRock, Fidelity, and even companies like MicroStrategy buy massive amounts of Bitcoin. MicroStrategies alone holds more than 400,000 Bitcoin. That's 2% of the total supply. Think about that for a second. They're not buying Bitcoin because it's trendy. They're buying it because they believe it's the most reliable store of values in the world. And here's something exciting. There's more demands coming. The launch of Bitcoin ETF earlier this year changed everything. For the first time, everyday investor could buy Bitcoin right off from the brokerage accounts, just like they would with stocks. Wall Street took notice. Tens of billions of dollars have flowed into Bitcoin ETF. Why? Because Bitcoin is no longer seen as risky. It's seen as a hedge, a place to protect your wealth. But it's not just companies. Countries are starting to pay attention to. There have been talks about governments holding Bitcoin in their reserves. Imagine a president walking into the White House and saying, "We're going to buy Bitcoins to protect our economy." That is not a fantasy anymore. It's becoming a serious conversation. If countries start buying Bitcoin, where do you think the price is going? Up. And let's not forget the total supply of Bitcoins will always be 21 million. That's the beauties of it. Supply doesn't change, but demand keeps growing. Now, for those of you who are now to Bitcoin, you might be wondering, is it too late for me? Absolutely not. Look, Bitcoin's hitting $100,000 or $150,000 is just the beginning. There are serious predictions out there that Bitcoin could hit $500,000 or even $1 million over the next decade. Why? Because it's the perfect storm. Governments are printing money. Central banks are cutting interest rates. And inflation is eating away at savings. Bitcoin stands as the solution. Here's something fascinating. Every time the US national debt grows by $1 trillion, which happen about every 100 days, Bitcoin keeps pace. It's like a race. National debt skyrockets and Bitcoin rises alongside it. That's because people are waking up to the fact that fiat money loses value. Bitcoin doesn't. It's designed to protect you from inflation, from reckless policies, and from uncertainty. And let me remind you of something beautiful about Bitcoin. It's for everyone. It doesn't matter where you're from, what language you speak, or how much money you have. If you have an internet connection, you can own Bitcoin. In places like Venezuela, Nigeria, and Argentina, where local currencies are collapsing, people are turning to Bitcoins as a lifeline. Bitcoin is borderless, permissionless, and uncensorable. It's freedoms in digital form. Now, for those of you stacking sats, for the small investor out there, don't feel discouraged. Owning even a small amount of Bitcoins today could mean everything tomorrow. There will only be 21 million Bitcoin. Most people in the world will never own an entire Bitcoin. If you're stacking even a fraction, you're already ahead of most. The key is patience. Bitcoin rewards those who think long term. Let's look at where we're headed. The Bitcoin's halving that happened earlier this year means the rate of new Bitcoins entering the markets has been cut in half. Combine that with massive demand from institutions, countries, and everyday people like you and me, and the result is simple. Price goes up. That's not just hype, that's supplies and demands at work. And remember, Bitcoin isn't just a financial asset, it's a shift in the way we think about money. For decades, we live in a system where money loses value over time. You save dollars and inflation eats away at them. But Bitcoin flips that on its head. It's allow you to save in something that deflationary, something that grows in value over time. Imagine explaining that to your kids or your grandkid one day. I saved in Bitcoin and it's changed our lives. So where does this leave us? We are living through history. Bitcoin is crossing all-time highs. It's becoming a global asset and it's changing lives around the world. Whether you're holding a lot or a little, the important thing is that you're part of the movement. You're stacking Bitcoins today because you see its potential. And trust me, the future is bright. If this inspires you, if you feel a little more hopeful, hit the like button and subscribe. This is just the beginnings of our journey together, and I want to keep bringing you the tools and information you need to succeed. Remember, hold tight and stack it right. Take care.